Happening now, a live look outside the Supreme Court where justices are hearing arguments in two critical cases involving President Biden's student loan debt forgiveness plan. Also, the head of the EPA is back in East Palestine, Ohio, meeting one-on-one with the families impacted by a major train derailment and chemical spill. And this afternoon, a House committee will be discussing a bill that would ban TikTok completely here in the United States. Scripps News Live begins right now. Well, the Supreme Court has begun hearing arguments in two cases that could have wide-reaching impacts. These 9 justices now tasked with deciding the fate of President Biden's student loan debt forgiveness program, which could bring financial relief to as many as 40 million Americans. Hello to you, I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. Welcome to your Tuesday edition of Scripps News Live. Thanks for being with us today. So demonstrations are taking place in front of the Supreme Court right now after erupting late last night. Several advocacy groups joining forces calling on the Supreme Court to reject red state-led challenges to the debt relief program.
It is always a student's right to learn. Always. For 5,000 years, we have fought for that right, that fundamental right, and we will not give up now.
They need to follow the law because student loan relief is legal, and we need our relief today.
Let's get you run out to Scripps News congressional correspondent Stephanie Liebergen live from Capitol Hill. As you can see, Stephanie, there is a lot of heated debate happening right now, a lot of demonstrations taking place outside of the Supreme Court. Let's talk about the questions that the justices are considering in these two cases. What are they looking at?
Hey, Veronica, good afternoon. Well, the first question the justices need to deal with in both cases is whether the people who filed the original lawsuits have standing. In order to file a lawsuit in the U.S., you need to be able to show that you are directly impacted or that you are directly damaged by whatever it is you're filing a lawsuit against. So in these two cases today, there's one lawsuit filed by 6 states, and there's another lawsuit filed by 2 borrowers, one of whom did not qualify for relief, and another, the second, qualified for $10,000 of relief, but not the $20,000 that's available for Pell Grant recipients. So if the justices deal with the standing question, then they can get to the merits of the case, and they'll deal with what's called the major programs doctrine, the major question doctrine. So the court has previously said that if it's a major question, if it's a major issue, it's something that Congress needs to deal with specifically, not something that the executive branch has the power to deal with. And in the questions so far this morning, in the first 2 hours of arguments, the justices have really seemed to struggle with the size and the scope of this debt relief program. It would cost about $400 billion over 30 years, and that seems to be giving them some pause when considering whether this is a major question that should be left up to Congress. Take a listen.
The fact that it hasn't acted under the major questions doctrine, but has considered the matter, we cited as support for the notion that maybe it should be one for Congress. If you're talking about this in the abstract, I think most casual observers would say if you're going to give up that much amount of money, if you're going to affect the obligations of that many Americans on a subject that's of great controversy, they would think that's something for Congress to act on.
Now, if the justices decide that the parties in both lawsuits don't have standing, that the 6 states don't have standing or the 2 students don't have standing, they won't even get to the merits of the case. They won't even get to whether the president and the executive branch has the authority to use the HEROES Act as they did. So it's a few different layers of questions that the justices are going to be wrestling with over the next couple months.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephanie. In the meantime, let's talk about what's happening with the White House, what the reaction has been like so far. What reasoning is the Biden administration using in its argument to allow this debt relief payment program to go forward? What are they saying?
So the Biden administration says they have the power to issue this debt forgiveness program under the HEROES Act. Now, the HEROES Act allows the Secretary of Education during a national emergency to take steps to waive or to modify student loan provisions to make sure that borrowers aren't worse off after the national emergency than they were before. So the national emergency in this case is the COVID-19 pandemic. This HEROES Act is what both the Trump and Biden administrations have used to pause interest on student loans and to pause payments due on student loans. So this HEROES Act has already been used in this COVID-19 pandemic. And the Solicitor General, who is arguing for the Biden administration, has been arguing that the Biden administration has been acting specifically within the scope of the HEROES Act in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Take a listen.
You know, Congress itself has provided for loan discharge in other circumstances in response to borrower hardship. It's included provisions in the Higher Education Act for bankruptcy, for example, or for total disability or school closure, other kinds of hardships. And so it couldn't have surprised Congress one bit that in response to hardship posed by a national emergency, the Secretary might consider similarly providing discharge if that's what it takes to make sure borrowers don't default.
Now, the arguments were initially scheduled for both cases to be a total of 2 hours. It is already past 12. We have reached that 2-hour mark, and at last check, when I was last listening to the hearing, the justices were still on the first case. So we still probably have potentially a couple hours of arguments yet to go this afternoon, Veronica.
All right, which is why we're going to be checking back with you. Stephanie Lieberman reporting live from just outside the Supreme Court. Stephanie, we always appreciate it. Thank you so much. I want to get you now to the White House and a live look where within the hour, President Biden is going to be departing for Joint Base Andrews. He is headed to Virginia Beach, Virginia today, where at 3 p.m. Eastern, he's going to be delivering public remarks to access to affordable health care. The president expected to take aim at the GOP's economic policies in this speech, which his administration claims would cause millions of people to lose their health care coverage. In the meantime, the Biden administration giving federal employees 30 days to scrub the hugely popular app TikTok from their government-issued devices. Now, that deadline was issued yesterday by the Office of Management and Budget on the very same day that Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that it too is banning the Chinese-owned app on its government devices over security and other data concerns. Now, this morning, China's foreign ministry slammed the U.S.'s decision to enact the ban, saying that it is, quote, wrong, and saying that the U.S. should be focused on, quote, non-discriminatory environments for foreign companies. In the meantime, that bill would ban TikTok from personal use by all Americans, and it's going to go before the House Foreign Affairs Committee today. Some lawmakers are arguing that President Biden should pull the plug on the popular app completely over security concerns. That's a discussion that begins at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to have a live report from congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed, who's standing by. It's going to take place in your 3 p.m. hour of Scripps News Live straight ahead. And another tech headline that we are tracking for you today, the U.S. Marshals Service confirming it suffered a large-scale security breach. According to Reuters, the agency notified the Department of Justice about the breach, which happened February 17th. A forensic investigation is now underway, but the Marshals Service is warning that the data bank impacted by the breach contained information on the subjects of USMS investigations as well as on its employees. Also happening now, major new developments in the court battle between Dominion Voting Systems and Fox News. According to newly released court documents, Fox News chair Rupert Murdoch admitted under oath that he knew some of the network's on-air talent were, quote, endorsing unfounded claims of election fraud. Scripps News national correspondent Maura Sirianni has been pouring through the documents. She joins us now with why this testimony could spell trouble for Murdoch and his powerhouse media conglomerate.
Yeah, the lawsuit could mean trouble for one of the country's most watched news networks, with Murdoch now admitting he knew about the lies being spread to Fox News' largely conservative pro-Trump audience. The media mogul testifying in the ongoing $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit against Fox filed by Dominion Voting Systems. Dominion had come under fire by Fox after some hosts repeated false claims that Dominion facilitated cheating in the 2020 presidential election. Murdoch said some of the network's commentators were endorsing Trump's false narrative that the election was stolen, adding that he wished Fox would have been, quote, stronger in denouncing it in hindsight. In the deposition, Murdoch said that his company, quote, thought everything was on the up and up regarding the results of the election. The newly released documents also include testimony in which Murdoch was asked about why he allowed primetime host Tucker Carlson and frequent guest on Fox, MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, to repeat false allegations against Dominion. To that, Murdoch telling lawyers it was because of the millions of ad dollars that Lindell had spent. And when asked by Dominion's lawyer if he could have ordered anchors and producers to keep guests like Rudy Giuliani off air for advancing those lies against Dominion, Murdoch said, quote, "I could have, but I didn't." Meanwhile, the Associated Press reports attorneys for Fox said in their filing that Murdoch said he never discussed Dominion or voter fraud with any of the hosts accused. They say Dominion hasn't produced evidence that high-level executives had any role in creating the false statements. In Atlanta, Mara Sirianni, Scripps News.
All right, Maura, thank you so much for that report. In Arizona right now, Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs is ordering an ethics investigation of the former Republican Attorney General. The order follows reports and documents that Mark Brnovich suppressed a report that found little evidence of fraud in the November 2020 election. Instead, he released an interim report saying that his office identified serious vulnerabilities. And then in Ohio, House Democrats want to know why 16,000 people were initially disqualified from voting. 2 Democrats want an independent investigation into Secretary of State Frank LaRose. A spokesperson says that LaRose's office is welcoming a review of voter registrations. We have much more to come for you in this hour of Scripps News Live. People living far from the site of a train derailment and chemical spill in Ohio are expressing safety concerns about toxic waste being shipped to their communities right now. Also, jurors in the Alec Murdaugh double murder trial are going to be visiting the crime scene tomorrow. And electric vehicle drivers end up stranded by power outages following a powerful winter storm. We're going to have the details for you. And a new poll shows that one candidate is far ahead of the competition for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. We'll have the details next.
Hi, I'm Kirk Kaiser, and did you know the average funeral costs around $10,000? And if you don't have enough insurance to cover funeral costs, credit card debt, and other expenses, your family is going to get stuck with the bill. Don't let that happen. Call right now. And if you're over 50, you can get up to $30,000 in affordable life insurance, and your acceptance is guaranteed. That's right. If you're over 50, you can't be turned down for this insurance, regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam and no health questions. Your rate will never go up. Your coverage will never go down. And rates start as low as $5 a week. Your coverage begins as soon as your application is received. Don't wait until it's too late.
Just call 800-379-8435.
Coverage is guaranteed regardless of your health and cannot be canceled without your approval. Don't leave your family with a huge bill for your funeral. With one fast and easy call, get up to $30,000 in affordable life insurance to help cover funeral expenses and credit card debt, and maybe even leave something for your kids and your grandkids. Remember, if you're over 50, you can't be turned down, regardless of your health. There's no medical exam and no health questions. Best of all, your rates start as low as $5 a week, and your rate will never increase. Nothing is more important than family. So don't leave them with a lot of bills to pay when you're gone. Don't leave your family with a lot of bills to pay for your funeral. Call right now. Acceptance is guaranteed. Call right now.
Call now. 800-379-8435. That's 800-379-8435.
These are clearly workers arriving for the start of the graveyard shift.
Poverty is compelling the kids to go into the plants. It's one of the worst jobs in the country.
Where was the Department of Labor for all these years? It's not right for young bodies to be working with such dangerous chemicals.
Where are those children now?
Scripps News investigates child labor in America. Thursday night at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live. Former President Donald Trump may be mired in a series of legal battles ranging from a lawsuit alleging sexual assault to a special counsel investigation. But according to a new poll out, none of those issues are hurting his standing with the voters. A brand new poll conducted by Emerson College shows Trump is well ahead of the pack right now in the race for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. Now, the poll, which pits Trump against undeclared and declared contenders, shows him leading the way with support from 55% of potential GOP voters. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, considered by many to be Trump's strongest competition, trails by 30 points with just 25%. And then former Vice President Mike Pence, who has yet to announce a run at the White House, trails both with just 8% of the potential support. And former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, who formally announced her bid February 15th, rounds out the top four with just 5%. As of today, Haley says that she still plans to attend this week's CPAC conference in Maryland, as does former President Trump. But former President Mike Pence, or Vice President rather, and Governor DeSantis are among the high-profile Republicans who are skipping this year's gathering, along with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. At issue is the scandal shaking up the Conservative Political Action Conference's top ranks, namely a sexual battery lawsuit filed against the group's chairman, Matt Schlapp. He has been accused of assaulting a male aide to the Herschel Walker for Senate campaign in October of last year. Schlapp, through his attorneys, is vigorously denying the allegations. In the meantime, Governor DeSantis might be skipping CPAC, but he's not shying away from courting controversy in his own state, where some of his administration's policies regarding public schools have been under fire. Take a look at this. Last night, parents packed an Indian River School Board hearing to express their concerns about the board's plan to remove the district's racial equity policy. The state's Department of Education flagged that policy as a potential violation of its new individual freedom law. Joel Lopez with Scripps News West Palm Beach takes us inside that charge meeting where people on both sides of the issue turned out in full force.
Thank you all for coming out. It was a packed house at the school district of Indian River County's school board meeting.
They're talking about the DeSantis list. They're talking about a racial equity policy that needs to be removed per the DOE. We're approving munch policies and procedures.
A big list of issues, bringing out grandparents like Pastor Charlie Jones.
All of the things that they need to learn for the future, they need to get it while they're in school. And I think they're being deprived of it.
Jones feels teachers are being suppressed on what they can teach their students and says children are the ones that will be impacted.
I tell my grandson, the more you read, the more you become knowledgeable of what's going on around and that you could then master your surrounding. You'll be able to stand with anybody you come in contact with.
Right now, teachers and librarians in school districts like Indian River County are currently cataloging their books to give parents the ability to challenge the material.
Are there any concerns that by removing some of this literature, it might make things less inclusive for some students who identify in certain ways?
No, it has to do with maturing and growing up. Kids don't need to be discussing all of these concepts before they are old enough to actually understand them.
With the proposed policy, a committee of 5 parents, a teacher and school administrator would look at the book being challenged and take 15 minutes to review it in depth.
These books should absolutely be available in the public libraries. People should be able to purchase them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all of these things. We're not banning or burning books. We're just trying to do best by unaccompanied minors in a public school setting.
Up next on Scripps News Live, we are kicking off our series, a very special series on confronting climate change today. And we're beginning with the issue of extreme heat taking place across the country. Scripps News correspondent Stephen Graddick joining us now with an eye-opening report. Stephen?
That's right, Veronica. When it comes to surviving extreme heat, sometimes something as simple as your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zip code could make all the difference. I'll explain how climate impacts communities differently next on Scripps News Live.
Hey there. Hey. Hey there, how are you? I'm with Disabled American Veterans. I was wondering if you had a quick minute to thank America's veterans for their service and sacrifices.
Of course, why not?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Sure.
All right. Hey, well, come on in here. I'm just going to hit record on this.
I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I can't even think of the words to say of how grateful I am.
I just want to tell you guys how much
how much you appreciate it.
But most importantly, I want to thank you for your courage and bravery.
Wow.
Just thank you.
Someone here who'd like to say something to you.
Oh my gosh, you guys are awesome.
Someone has something they want to say to you.
Goodness, how's it going? Oh. So I just want to let you know how much you appreciate it, how much you appreciate it.
I just feel honored for everything you've done.
Thank you for myself. Thank you for everybody.
I get to live every day, you know, in peace because of you.
You know, a lot of people thank us, but we want to take the time to thank you, honestly, for giving back. And when you give to DAV, you are supporting veterans like Dave, myself. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
You can say thank you to our nation's heroes by calling the number on your screen right now and giving your monthly support of only $19.
Say thank you by going to helpdav.org right now and give just $19 a month. When you do, we'll send you this DAV blanket as a thank you and a reminder that you support those who served.
Please call or go online to helpdav.org right now. Your support says thank you to our nation's disabled American veterans.
Do you spend hours maintaining your gutters? Save that time with LeafGuard's maintenance-free system. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS. Mesh filters sit on top of your gutters, building up debris and eventually clogging. Then they need to be cleaned too. Honestly, your home should have been built with LeafGuard gutters. LeafGuard's wraparound hood deflects debris and keeps water away from your home. The one-piece seamless system is strong, 20% thicker than average and built to last. Plus, LeafGuard is guaranteed to never clog for as long as you own your home. Right now, get a complete LeafGuard system for only $99 down, $99 a month, and $99 installation. You'll also receive a $100 Visa gift card with a free gutter inspection and in-home estimate. Damage from clogged gutters can cost you thousands. Never worry about clogged gutters again. Don't wait, you've still got time. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS today. That's 1-833-2-GUTTERS.
Municipal bonds don't usually get the media coverage the stock market does. In fact, most people don't find them all that exciting. But if you're looking for the potential for consistent income that's federally tax-free, now is an excellent time to consider municipal bonds from Henyon & Walsh. If you have at least $10,000 to invest, call and talk with one of our bond specialists at 1-800-465-8465. We'll send you our exclusive bond guide, free, with details about how bonds can be an important part of your portfolio. Henyon & Walsh has specialized in fixed income and growth solutions for 30 years and offers high-quality municipal bonds from across the country. They provide the potential for regular income, are federally tax-free, and have historically low risk. Call today to request your free bond guide, 1-800-465-8465. That's 1-800-465-8465.
Well, today we are kicking off a new series right here on Scripps News Live, Confronting Climate Change. We're going to show you how extreme weather fueled by climate change has been impacting one of the most underserved communities in the country. New Orleans is no stranger to catastrophic weather events, but it might surprise you to know that when Hurricane Ida hit in August 2021, the extreme heat that followed killed more people than the Category 4 storm. Joining me now is Scripps News' Stephen Granick. And Stephen, you went to New Orleans to see how climate change has been impacting the city and the people that live there in a situation like the one that we saw after Ida, where the combination of mass power outages and extreme heat proved to be fatal.
Yeah, absolutely, Veronica. New Orleans is the worst urban heat island in the country. From the heat combined with the depressing humidity, and add on top of that not having power or a place to stay cool can indeed quickly become a death sentence for many of the community members. But something as simple as your area code could determine the temperatures on your thermostat. Take a look. From jazz to towering cathedrals to streets packed with people, New Orleans is filled with life in every season. But from hurricanes to flooding to extreme heat, it's also a city where Mother Nature has really flexed her muscles, and climate change is fueling her strength.
all been impacted by a hurricane. We've all felt how dangerous and oppressive the heat can be.
Katrina, I had like 8 feet of water in my house. We get real heat.
In the U.S., New Orleans is one of the most vulnerable cities to the impacts of our warming climate. Its low elevation and coastal erosion combined with hotter temps makes the city more prone to increased flooding, sea level rise, and more frequent and intense storms. That means life in the Big Easy is expected to get warmer, wetter, and more humid.
This whole city is at risk of flooding.
According to Risk Factor, over 150,000 New Orleans properties have more than a 26% chance of being severely impacted by flooding over the next 30 years. That's 99% of the properties in the city. Corby Johnson and Madeline Batchman of the Upper Ninth Ward know that all too well.
We can stand on our porch and watch the water rush down this way. Since I've been in this particular neighborhood, I think about maybe over 20 years. And from each bad storm, my house has flooded.
Austin Feldbaum, Hazard Mitigation Director of the City of New Orleans, knows there is room for improvement in the neighborhoods.
We've got a long way to go in terms of our built infrastructure. We've got to make real measurable progress there.
As the climate warms, hotter air holds more moisture, and that could mean heavier rains, more flooding, and stronger storms for New Orleans. The extra heat also adds to the city's challenges as an urban heat island. It tops Climate Central's list of 159 U.S. cities with the worst urban heat island effect. The average temperature in the summer is 16 degrees hotter than in rural areas nearby.
An urban heat island is a phenomenon that happens in cities because cities produce a lot of heat and they also trap a lot of heat because of concrete and other hard surfaces. You know, we remove vegetation and replace it with parking lots, and then there's air conditioners and boilers and stoves and things that create a lot of heat. So it can be hotter in a city than in the outlying areas.
As the city traps heat, it increases people's health risk. According to the New Orleans Department of Health, the number of heat-related hospitalizations have risen every year since 2013. Black residents are over 3.5 times more likely to visit the ER and 2.5 times more likely to be admitted to the hospital due to heat-related illnesses compared to white residents.
Dealing with extreme weather takes time and energy and resources. So whether that's straining your household budget or just kind of wearing you out, making you feel like you're drained because you can't afford to turn on the AC. So it's hotter in your house than it is outside, so you're losing sleep, right? So you're less healthy and less productive the next day.
You mad if you that hot. Wouldn't you be mad if you was walking somewhere as it was so hot? You couldn't just find you just a cool space. It's hot.
These are long-term impacts that affect people's lives. So I think, I think ultimately exacerbates the underlying inequalities and social factor.
City government statistics show each year, on average, New Orleans experiences 56 days with temperatures above 90 degrees. Climate change may only increase the number. StatesAtRisk.org data predicts Louisiana will see one of the country's biggest increases in heat wave days by 2050. In New Orleans, the city's environmental layout makes some people more vulnerable to the heat.
There's sort of a divider. If you go through New Orleans and you find the streets with big mature oak trees along the street, and then you maybe check what the home values are in that little slice along that avenue versus the parts of town, the major throughways that don't have a lot of trees, it's, fairly consistent relationship there. The more affluent neighborhoods are greener.
The greener the neighborhood, the cooler it is. And it can even impact the green in your wallet.
We are like the third most energy burdened community in the nation. So, we're paying the most proportionally of our income for energy costs. So the heat, of course, is a major driver of that.
Residents like Corby Johnson are calling on the city to help mitigate the flooding and the heat.
It has to be everybody. We have to come together, and until there's education from the city, from the state down, we'll never get anything done. But we're going to keep doing what we have to do because we have to, because no one else is doing it.
Annually, New Orleans spends about 110 days above 90 degrees. That's about 30% of the year, Veronica.
Wow, okay, so you really do want to live in a more rural environment when you are looking at places to live. If you want to protect yourself from something like this, which a lot of people are city dwellers, they want to live in the city, but you don't realize that there are consequences to those types of decisions.
That's right. You move into the city expecting there to be close proximity to everything, and then you don't always think about the risk of not having trees.
Did anything about this surprise you? Any of the research that you did? Maybe the demographics, for example?
Yeah, I mean, we saw there in the piece how shocking it is, the disproportionate effects on communities of color, particularly black residents in New Orleans. And then we found out that heat exhaustion are some of the same symptoms that we experience with regular everyday life, from headache to exhaustion to nausea. And that can quickly become a heat exhaustion that leads to death. And that's one of the things that a lot of people in New Orleans don't always put two and two together until it's too late.
Yeah. All right. Great stuff, Stephen. Thank you so much. Our Confronting Climate Change series continues tomorrow with more from the people of Louisiana as they battle skyrocketing power bills and insurance premiums. Again, part 2 of our series will continue tomorrow. Stephen will be back then. Thanks so much, Stephen. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, people living far from the site of an Ohio train derailment and chemical spill expressing safety concerns about the toxic waste being shipped to their communities. Also, EPA head Michael Reagan back in East Palestine today. What he's hoping to accomplish with this visit. That's next.
This year, Americans will spend $41 billion on auto repairs.
That's right, billions with a B. Why is that number so high? Because cars break down. Your vehicle is going to end up in a shop like this too, and if it's no longer under warranty, you're the one who has to pay the bill, and it could cost you thousands of dollars. That is, unless you call CarShield. With a plan through CarShield, administrators will pay for those costly repairs directly to the mechanic of your choice, including dealerships. That means you get protection on major parts and systems like the engine, transmission, electrical systems, and more. Plus, 24/7 emergency services for flat or damaged tires, lockouts, dead batteries, and towing at no additional cost. And there are even rental car options to keep you on the road.
An unexpected car repair can wreak havoc in somebody's house when they don't have the money. Nobody should have to decide whether they should put food on the table or pay for a car repair. If you're driving an out-of-warranty car, it's not a matter of if it'll break down, it's when. So you need to call CarShield before it does. It's nice to find a company like CarShield that actually cares about their customers.
CarShield has a rich history of dependability, reliability, and success, and has been featured on leading networks like ABC, CNN, Fox News, and more. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company.
My mom told me to call CarShield, and I saved $5,000. You should always listen to your mom.
As soon as my car broke down, CarShield jumped into action, and I had my car back within days.
I've been with CarShield for close to 7 years. I have 3 vehicles covered, and I saved close to $9,000.
I called CarShield and saved over $5,000.
Yes, CarShield is a good value. Every plan through CarShield comes with a price lock guarantee, which means no matter how many repairs you need, the price you pay today will never change for as long as you cover your car.
Call now and save money with your price lock guarantee. It's not a matter of if your car will break down, but when. Call CarShield now before it's too late. Call 800-287-5264. 800-287-5264.
Sunday nights, see the world through the real stories of real people.
It's a monetized, violent system.
We've got to do something in real life. Sunday nights at 8:30, 7:30 Central, only on Scripps News.
Hey there, welcome back to Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. It is great to see you on this Tuesday afternoon. Let's get you up to speed right now on the biggest stories that we're tracking for you right now. The head of the EPA, Michael Reagan, back in East Palestine, Ohio today. It is his 3rd visit since the February 3rd train derailment and toxic chemical spill. He's participating in the grand opening of the agency's new Community Welcome Center. The center will allow residents to meet with EPA staff and other agencies to learn more about available resources. And Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, in the meantime, is taking another step to strengthen accountability in the rail industry. He sent a letter to Norfolk Southern Railway and other major rail companies urging them to join a voluntary reporting system. The confidential close call reporting system will encourage employees to report safety hazards. Buttigieg is giving companies until the end of the week to reply. And crews in East Palestine are continuing to remove contaminated waste from the derailment site. New shipments are coming to 2 EPA-certified facilities in Ohio right now. Facilities in Michigan and Texas have already received some liquid and solid waste. Shipments paused after concerns were raised during the weekend about the oversight measures. And so far, crews have collected nearly 2 million gallons of liquid waste from the wreckage. So now EPA officials are saying that they are getting closer to finding enough certified facilities to take in all of that waste. But a small Ohio farm community isn't happy about it. Tara Morgan with Scripps News Cleveland caught up with a few residents who say that they feel blindsided by this.
Vickery is mostly farmland. There's a post office, volunteer fire department, a few taverns, and Vickery Environmental.
I would say we've had an uneasy coexistence.
John Steger lives a mile and a half from the facility. He's also the Townsend Township trustee chair.
I have contended for many, many years that at least at the county level, we should have some sort of log or some sort of notification when waste is coming in like this.
The federal EPA is allowing Norfolk Southern to send some of the contaminated liquid to Vickery Environmental. The Sandusky County EMA says Vickery will receive about 3 to 4 loads of overflow water per day. Deborah Shore said it would be disposed of in an underground injection well.
I'd say most of the residents aren't real happy about it.
Daryl Moore has lived in Vickery for more than 3 decades, an avid hunter and fisherman.
I want to know what, if it does leak, we should look for as far as health hazards, what we should look for in our wild animals in case they get into it somewhere.
Yeah, just not right. It's just because we live out in the country or whatever that, you know, that they get away with it, but they're, we'll send it up to Vickery.
Steger says he first heard about the hazardous shipments to Vickery in an article he read late last Friday.
I was a little upset that we weren't informed. My phone has been ringing ever since Friday afternoon.
He also has a list of concerns, including haul routes, whether the trucks are inspected first, and the liquid waste itself, especially being so close to Sandusky Bay.
And is that going to migrate to the surface? And if it does, where is it going to migrate to the surface?
Shore said the facilities receiving the solid and liquid waste are EPA certified, have been evaluated, and found to be acceptable to take the waste, but said they don't have the capability to handle all of it, so they are looking for more places.
We will not be notifying for every single shipment. That's going to be too many.
Vickery Environmental would not answer my specific questions, rather sent this statement, quote, Vickery Environmental places the health and safety of our local communities at the forefront of all operations, making safety a core value without compromise, while operating under the strict oversight and permitting of the Ohio EPA and U.S. EPA.
What we want is information. I don't know whether we can stop it or curtail it, but we can at least have the knowledge of what's going on out there and what we need to do.
That was Tara Morgan reporting there for us. Coming up in the next hour of Scripps News Live, Mark Greenblatt on our investigative team will be joining us. He's going to share what he's uncovered so far about large cash rewards paid to executives at Norfolk Southern Railroad and why they may have contributed to the company making decisions that safety advocates are opposing. Straight ahead on Scripps News Live, hundreds of thousands are without power right now as we track the remnants of a winter storm in the Northeast and a new snow system in the West. Also, widespread outages have been leaving some EV drivers stranded. After a quick break, the challenges of driving an electric vehicle in the wake of a storm.
As Americans, there's one thing we can all agree on: the promise of our Constitution and the hope that liberty and justice is for all people. But here's the truth. Attacks on our constitutional rights, yours and mine, are greater than they've ever been. The right for all to vote, reproductive rights, the rights of immigrant families, the right to equal justice for Black, brown, and LGBTQ+ folks. The time to act to protect our rights is now. That's why I'm hoping you'll join me today in supporting the American Civil Liberties Union. It's easy to make a difference. Just call or go online now and become an ACLU Guardian of Liberty. All it takes is just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Your monthly support will make you part of the movement to protect the rights of all people, including the fundamental right to vote.
States are passing laws that would suppress the right to vote. We are going backwards.
But the ACLU can't do this important work without the support of people like you. You can help ensure liberty and justice for all and make sure that every vote is counted. So please, call the ACLU now or go to myaclu.org and join us. And when you use your credit card, you'll receive this special We the People t-shirt and much more to show you're a part of the movement to protect the rights guaranteed to all of us by the U.S. Constitution.
We protect everyone's rights. The freedom of religion, the freedom of expression, racial justice, LGBTQ rights, the rights of the disabled. We are here for everyone.
It is more important than ever to take a stand. So please join us today, because We the People means all the people, including you. So call now or go online to myaclu.org to become a guardian of liberty.
Are you on Medicaid and Medicare?
The U.S. government recently announced that 12.2 million citizens are eligible for additional benefits beyond what they received from the original Medicare or Medicaid.
These benefits may include $2,500 of dental credit, $900 of pharmacy credit. Plus, you could be adding up to $164 back into your Social Security check every month. Certain beneficiaries qualify for specific benefits based on income verification. Call Go Medicare at 800-721-2735. If you have recently turned 65, you may be able to enroll in a new plan today that may include benefits like $2,500 of dental credit, $900 of pharmacy credit.
This call is 100% free with no obligation to enroll. So call today.
At 800-721-2735. That's 800-721-2735.
How can a photo become a vibrant part of your home? When you go to tryfracture.com and print your images directly on glass. Get beautiful depth and clarity on a sleek, frameless print that's easy to hang and looks incredible in any space. Go to tryfracture.com now to save 20% on glass prints.
This is a paid advertisement for legal services. You've seen the commercials. There are hundreds of law firms advertising for mesothelioma cases. So what makes Sokoloff Law different? Results. We have recovered over $5 billion for clients across the country. That's why every year, hundreds of mesothelioma victims trust Sokoloff Law with their case. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call Sokoloff Law now. Call or text 800-421-6300 for a free legal consultation now. That's 800-421-6300.
There shouldn't be a stigma around talking about mental health or taking medication for your anxiety if that's what you need to feel better. And that's something I know firsthand. That's why I trust HERS. They help women access quality mental health care 100% online. Get started today at forhers.com.
Tomorrow, jurors in Alec Murdaugh's double murder trial will visit the crime scene where Murdaugh's son Paul and wife Maggie were killed in June 2021. Prosecutors say Murdaugh killed them to distract attention from allegations that he stole money from his clients and his law firm. Today, the prosecution is presenting rebuttal witnesses, and one of them, Murdaugh's former law partner Ronnie Crosby, bristled when Murdaugh's attorney asked about his anger against Murdaugh and the money that he cost the firm.
Yes, I experienced a lot of anger, but you can't walk around with anger. You have to find a way to deal with it and move forward, and I have done that. And if you suggest, you are dead wrong if you think I've come in here and told this jury something because of money. When we're talking about two people who were brutally murdered, then you're headed in the wrong direction.
Do you think he did it?
I don't have an opinion. I don't have the benefit of the materials you have.
Now, prosecutors will put other rebuttal witnesses on the stand before the defense introduces as many as 7 reply witnesses. Testimony is underway right now in Colleton County, South Carolina. Let's take you inside the courtroom for Court TV's continuing trial coverage.
Thank you for coming today. Thank you, sir. No, you are. Thank you, sir. You can call your next witness. Take all Paul and
you swear or affirm that any testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. If you would, sir, please be seated. State your full name for the record and spell it. Last name, please.
Paul McManigal, M-C-M-A-N-I-G-A-L.
All right. Good afternoon. Sergeant McManigal, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you're employed with the Charleston County Sheriff's Office?
I am.
And you testified previously in this trial, correct?
Yes, I have.
Just briefly remind the jury exactly what topic you testified on earlier. Briefly, please.
I was tasked with redacting Alec Murdaugh's cell phone records to remove any possible client-attorney privileged information.
All right. And during that testimony, you were not qualified as an expert, correct?
That is correct.
All right. But you have been qualified in previous trials?
Yes, I have.
And approximately how many times have you been qualified as an expert previously in other trials?
About 10.
10 times. Okay. And is that in cell phone forensics?
Part of it was about, refer to my notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 times of that was in cell phones forensics. The other was crime scene investigation.
Okay. All right. And just let's briefly go down as quick as you can. Let's go through your training experience in cell phone forensics, please.
Okay. I'm currently assigned to the United States Secret Service Cyber Fraud Task Force, which is where I received most of my training. I have been trained in basic computer evidence recovery, advanced computer forensics, oxygen forensic suite training.
And if you're just joining us, we are listening in on testimony from Paul McManigal. He's a cyber forensics expert, talking about how he had been tasked with redacting Alec Murdaugh's cell phone records there. He currently works with the Secret Service. If you want to go and stay with this, you can join Court TV, who has been providing live gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Alec Murdaugh trial. You can watch on your local Court TV affiliate. You can also stream it online through the website or on the app. Developing now, the remnants of a massive winter storm still wreaking havoc on New England. And we're tracking a new winter system battering parts of the West Coast right now. 50 million people under winter storm alerts as communities from Nevada to New York are getting buried beneath snow and ice. Today, parts of New England are getting hit with more than ½ a foot of snow, and blizzard conditions are being reported near Lake Tahoe, which already got 5 feet of snow last week. Then there are the power outages. Right now, there are 153,000 power outages in Michigan alone as that area struggles to thaw out after an ice storm. But all across the country right now, more than 227,000 homes and businesses are in the dark. They're waiting for the power to be restored. And it's posing a major problem for people who drive electric vehicles, many of whom have found themselves stranded in the wake of these winter storms. Brett Cass with Scripps News Detroit caught up with some of the drivers who admit that power outages pose a setback for the future of EVs.
There it goes. There it goes.
A devastating ice storm wreaked havoc Wednesday night across Metro Detroit, taking down trees and power lines, leaving thousands in the dark. 48 hours later, nearly 500,000 people were still without power.
So your power's out at home. How has that impacted you charging your car?
Well, it's majorly impacted us.
Dana Pikich of Grosse Pointe has had her Tesla for just over a year. Her home lost power, and the nearest charging station was out of service, a problem she wasn't expecting.
It hasn't really crossed our mind because we haven't had a major power outage until this one.
On a cold Friday morning, she stopped at a Tesla charging station in Livonia, which was mostly full. Some had to wait a few minutes for a chance to plug in.
While many of these charging stations have been full, this one in the parking lot of Meyer in Roseville is empty. Drivers tell us it's been out of commission both Thursday and Friday, a problem for those without power at home. How many more miles do you have left until you have to?
21 miles. So I have to find another charger.
It's been 2 days since Sohail Hassan has had power at home. The cardiologist has been unable to charge his electric car overnight and now desperately needs power driving between hospitals.
At home, there's a charger, but you cannot charge, so you come to the charging station here. And the charging station is down, so it just makes the day a little bit stressful.
Electrify America, the company behind this charger, says when the power is out, there's not much they can do. But they point out gas stations also don't work without power. But right now, gas stations more than double the amount of EV chargers.
Are we prepared for that when it comes to having electric vehicles?
I would say today we're probably not.
Sam Abul-El-Samad is an analyst who does research into electric vehicles. He says we're still in the early days of the electric transition, and companies are looking into solar panels and batteries to help power charging stations. He also adds some EVs can actually power your home during an outage.
For those that have EVs, the last couple of days may well have been problematic, but some of the new things that are happening, like vehicle-to-load capability, will actually probably make it easier in the future when you have a power outage.
Earlier this month, President Biden announced a $7.5 billion investment into EV charging, with a goal of building 500,000 public chargers nationwide by 2030.
The wider distribution of chargers you have, the more likelihood you'll be able to find some that are working.
In the aftermath of this storm, EV drivers hope to be more prepared for the next, but still prefer the plug any day over the pump.
So overall, with the power outage, inconvenience, but still beats a gas car?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yep, totally agree.
And that was Brett Cass there reporting from Livonia, Michigan. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, we've got some jaw-dropping caught-on-camera video to show you. A school teacher and a bus driver acting fast to save lives. That's next when Scripps News Live continues. But first, we want to remind you to follow us at Scripps News on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on TikTok. We'll be right back.
You're looking pretty good, Mr. Johnson. But we need to take some x-rays today.
That's why.
Yes, x-rays are expensive, but the front desk said you recently enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan with extra benefits that now cover today's x-rays and clinic costs.
Wow, okay.
Well, Medicare Parts A and B do not cover your routine dental coverage like cleanings, fillings, or x-rays. Yes, you have a Medicare Part C plan, commonly called Medicare Advantage. Medicare Part C plans cover everything in Part A and Part B, plus extra benefits like dental, vision, and hearing.
Wow. That's great that my plan includes dental coverage that helps pay for these costs.
Yes, Mr. Johnson. A Medicare Part C plan could include dental coverage that pays for routine dental exams and teeth cleanings, dental x-rays, fillings, tooth extractions, root canals, dentures, implants, and crowns.
If you're losing coverage, moving, or new to Medicare, call to speak with a licensed insurance agent. You don't get a plan with these benefits automatically, so it's always good to call to see if there's a plan with extra benefits available in your zip code. If you don't have a Medicare Part C plan, call now because there may be plans available with additional benefits that are simply not covered under Medicare Parts A and B, like routine dental coverage. In fact, 24 million Medicare beneficiaries do not have any dental coverage. Here's the good news. If you're on Medicare, you can call even if you called last year. We will check to see if there is a Part C plan available in your area with additional benefits. Remember, you don't get Medicare Part C benefits automatically, so call now for your free 2023 no-obligation Medicare benefits review. Just call 800-614-5203. 800-614-5203.
We really don't want people to think of feeding food like ours as spoiling their dogs. Good, real food is simple. It looks like food, it smells like food. It's what dogs are supposed to be eating. No living being should ever eat processed food for every single meal of their life.
It's amazing to me how many people write in about their dogs changing for the better. The farmer's dog is just our way to help people take care of them.
Sure, you should teach him to ride a bike. Then use Greenlight and teach him how to invest in bike. Teach him to be smart about money and he'll go far.
Super far. Oh, hey, Mom.
Navigate the world of money together. Invest in your best investment. Greenlight.
Curious about trick plays and if ever that local hero, national champ. Now he's home and expected to save it. Hey guys, am I dreaming or can we actually win this thing?
when what's happening in the world hits home.
What strikes me is how many children are here.
And when reporting the news matters the most. Scripps News reports. Tonight at 8, 7 Central. Only on Scripps News.
Caught on camera at this hour, school employees doing double duty, educators serving as lifesavers, and these incredible videos coming out of Connecticut and Ohio. Let's go and begin right here in Connecticut, where a school teacher with nerves of steel rushed toward this burning car to help pull a man to safety. Wow, some incredible images there. You can see that vehicle fully engulfed in flames by the time firefighters arrive. They say that middle school teacher most certainly helped save the driver's life because he has limited mobility and uses a wheelchair. Heather Leonard helped pull him to safety, got his chair out as well. Incredible work there, amazing. And then take a look at this, an alert school bus driver in Ohio putting the brakes on what could have been a tragedy. Yikes. Definitely a close call. The driver saw a car illegally passing her school bus on the right and stopped the student who would have stepped right into its path. She physically pulled the student back using his backpack. She kept the student from getting hit. Nice work. Giving you a live look right now at the White House, where President Biden will be departing for Joint Base Andrews at any moment. He is headed to Virginia Beach, Virginia today, where at 3 p.m. Eastern, he'll be delivering public remarks on access to affordable health care. The president is expected to take aim at the GOP's economic policies in this speech, which his administration claims would cause millions of people to lose their health care coverage. In the meantime, we continue to follow our top story of the day as the Supreme Court hears oral arguments in 2 legal challenges to President Biden's student loan debt forgiveness plan. We're going to take you live to Washington for a report on these closely watched cases in the next hour of Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. We're back after this.
Attention all Medicare recipients. Did you know you could be adding up to $164 back to your Social Security check every month? Certain beneficiaries qualify for specific benefits based on income verification. Get a free Medicare benefits review and see if you qualify. Just call 800-396-0918. This program helps lower Medicare costs like premiums, deductibles, and coinsurance. You may also qualify for a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits at no cost to you. A licensed insurance agent is standing by to check your eligibility. Just call 800-396-0918. You could be adding up to $164 back to your Social Security check every month. Certain beneficiaries qualify for specific benefits based on income verification. You don't get these savings automatically. Call now. There is no obligation to enroll. The call and Medicare benefits review are free. That's 800-396-0918. Attention all Medicare recipients. Did you know you could be adding up to $164 back to your Social Security check every month? Certain beneficiaries qualify for specific benefits based on income verification. Get a free Medicare benefits review and see if you qualify. Just call 800-396-0918. This program helps lower Medicare costs like premiums, deductibles, and coinsurance. You may also qualify for a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits at no cost to you. A licensed insurance agent is standing by to check your eligibility. You could be adding up to $164 back to your Social Security check every month. Certain beneficiaries qualify for specific benefits based on income verification. You don't get these savings automatically. Call now. There is no obligation to enroll. The call and Medicare benefits review are free. Just call 800-396-0918. That's 800-396-0918.
We will not be subdued because of some sham lawsuits and partisan politics. We, as the American people, deserve this student debt cancellation.
Live look right now at the steps of the Supreme Court, where dozens are rallying as Supreme Court justices hear oral arguments in two cases regarding student loan debt relief. Thank you so much for being with us on this Tuesday. Great to see you. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. Welcome back to Scripps News Live. So right now, the Supreme Court is hearing oral arguments in two cases that could affect millions of people's student loan debt. The High Court being tasked to decide whether or not it is legal for the Biden administration to clear up to $20,000 in student loans for millions of borrowers across the country right now. Let's get you right out to Scripps News congressional correspondent Stephanie Liebergen, who joins us now live from right outside the Supreme Court. Stephanie, break down what's happened so far. What questions are the justices considering in these two cases?
Hey, Veronica, good afternoon. Well, the justices have officially moved on to the second case of the two, the arguments for the second case of the two that they are considering today. So in both cases, the first question the justices need to consider is whether the plaintiffs have standing. So in one case, the first case they heard today was 6 states that filed a lawsuit to block the student loan debt relief program, saying the Biden administration was exceeding its authority. The second case was filed by 2 individual borrowers, one of whom didn't qualify for relief and one who only qualified for $10,000 of relief instead of the $20,000 that's eligible for eligible Pell Grant recipients. So first, the justices will deal with standing. Then if they agree that those two have standing, or one of the two have standing, the next question they're going to deal with is the major question doctrine. Now, this, according to the previous Supreme Court rulings, means that if it's a major question, then it's something that Congress has to deal with directly. It's not a power that can be delegated to the executive branch. And the size and the scope of this student debt relief forgiveness program seems to be something that the justices were struggling with just a little bit. This program will cost $400 billion over 30 years, and that's something that the justices seemed to struggle with a little bit. Take a listen.
The fact that it hasn't acted under the major questions doctrine, but has considered the matter, we cited as support for the notion that maybe it should be one for Congress. If you're talking about this in the abstract, I think most casual observers would say if you're going to give up that much amount of money, if you're going to affect the obligations of that many Americans on a subject that's of great controversy, they would think that's something for Congress to act on.
Now, the justices have to deal with the standing question first. If they decide that neither group of plaintiffs, the states and the 2 borrowers, if they say they don't have standing, they won't even consider the merits of the case. They won't even consider the major question doctrine. That the opinion and discussion will end there. So we could find out that the justices don't even weigh in on the merits of whether or not the executive branch has this authority to relieve student loan debt. Veronica.
Let's talk about the White House's reaction to all of this for a second, Stephanie. What are they saying right now, and what reasoning is the Biden administration using in its argument to allow this debt relief program to move forward?
So the Biden administration, in arguing both cases, the government arguing both cases today, is really relying on the HEROES Act as to why the Biden administration says they do have this authority. So the HEROES Act allows the Secretary of Education to waive or to make changes to the student loan program in the case of a national emergency to ensure that borrowers are not left worse off after the emergency than they were before. So this power, this HEROES Act, is how the Trump and Biden administrations stopped student loan payments during the COVID-19 pandemic and how they stopped interest from accruing. Both of those things were done under the HEROES Act. The Biden administration trying to go one step further and saying that the secretary needs to, excuse and basically grant relief for the student loan debt. Now, the Solicitor General, who's arguing on behalf of the Biden administration, says that what they're doing is absolutely within the power of the HEROES Act. Take a listen.
Congress itself has provided for loan discharge in other circumstances in response to borrower hardship. It's included provisions in the Higher Education Act for bankruptcy, for example, or for total disability or school closure, other kinds of hardships. And so it couldn't have surprised Congress one bit that in response to hardship posed by a national emergency, the Secretary might consider similarly providing discharge if that's what it takes to make sure borrowers don't default.
Now, on the issue of the forbearance and the delayed, the stoppage of payments and the stop of interest accruing, the Solicitor General arguing today that the need to relieve these loans isn't because of those two earlier steps, but it's because those two earlier steps weren't enough to help families and to help borrowers cope with the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic that we have all been dealing with for the last couple of years. So arguments still going on behind me. They were originally scheduled for just 2 hours, but no one expected them to be done in 2 hours. It might still go for another hour or two, but at least we have moved on to the second case now, Veronica.
All right. Thank you so much for the update. Stephanie Liebert reporting live from Washington. Stephanie will be circling back. Thank you. So the Biden administration is mandating that federal agencies in the meantime remove the social media app TikTok from all government-issued devices. And all agencies have been notified that they must delete any app from TikTok or its parent company ByteDance within 30 days. Today, Congress is considering a bill that could ban TikTok on any phone in the United States. Congressional correspondent Nate Reed is on Capitol Hill for us with the very latest. So, Nate, TikTok is one of, well, actually, it might be the most popular app in the United States. Break down the issues here. Why are lawmakers trying to ban it?
The biggest concerns over why the U.S. could ban TikTok for American users is over data concerns. TikTok is owned by ByteDance. It's a Chinese company, and some argue that ByteDance is giving access to users' data to the Chinese Communist Party and to the Chinese government. It's worth noting that with that government phone ban that the U.S. has announced yesterday, they join Canada along with the European Union in announcing bans on staff devices, so specifically devices that are used in conducting business of the state in order to make sure that those devices do not have TikTok installed on them. Now, the sponsor of this bill, which would ban TikTok on personal devices in the U.S., is Representative Michael McCall. He put out a statement yesterday saying that, make no mistake, TikTok is a security threat. It allows the Chinese Communist Party to manipulate and monitor its users while it gobbles up Americans' data that can be used for their malign activities. Anyone with TikTok downloaded on their device has given the Chinese Communist Party a backdoor to their personal information. It's a spy balloon into your phone. Now, TikTok has not responded directly to this latest ban. We've reached out to them for comment. They called the previous government ban effectively political theater. They say that those security concerns are overblown and that they're not sharing that data with the Chinese government. At the same time, though, the House of Representatives making very clear that this bill is going to be a priority. They're going to be marking it up in just a little while here on Capitol Hill, basically taking comments about this bill to advance it to a full committee and then House of Representatives vote at some point in the future.
All right, so just to clarify, Nate, right now, this is a ban on government-issued devices. What is the likelihood that this bill becomes law for everyone in the U.S.? Do I need to go to my phone, delete TikTok off my phone right now, just get rid of the app altogether?
Well, not yet. Look, this is the very first preliminary step in a process that it will take for the government to ban TikTok. Even if this bill were passed by the House and the Senate, it would still be up to President Biden not only to sign it, but also to enforce the bill. It would be up to President Biden to determine that he wanted TikTok banned on American devices. That's the way that this bill is written. So don't delete the device, don't delete the app off your phone yet. But at the same time, House Republicans, a number of whom have warned that this bill could be that TikTok is disastrous to your phone and it's leaking your data to the Chinese government. Of course, there are detractors. The Democratic ranking member of this committee is opposed to this bill. We're expected to hear a lot more about it, though, in the next hour or so.
All right, I am not deleting TikTok. I'm actually on Twitter instead. I might look at Facebook, Instagram, but during the commercial break. We'll put the phone down now. Nate Reed reporting live from Capitol Hill. Nate, thank you so much. So President Biden is scheduled to depart Joint Base Andrews for Virginia Beach, Virginia within the next few minutes. At 3 p.m. Eastern, Mr. Biden is expected to deliver public remarks on access to affordable health care. The president is expected to take aim at the Republicans' economic policies in a speech, which his administration claims would cause millions of people to lose their health care coverage. In other news at this hour, the chairman of Fox Corporation confirmed in a deposition what many people have long wondered. Rupert Murdoch said some Fox News commentators pushed former President Trump's claims that the 2020 election was stolen. Murdoch admitted he did nothing to stop it. The deposition is part of a defamation lawsuit Dominion Voting Systems has filed against Fox News and Fox Corporate. In it, Murdoch admitted that Sean Hannity, Jeanine Pirro, and others endorsed the baseless claims. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, we're going to dig into the rail company behind the derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. We'll take a closer look at how some of the company's leaders got large cash rewards after making their trains longer, and what safety advocates have to say about it. That's next.
I'm with Disabled American Veterans. I was wondering if you had a quick minute to thank America's veterans for their service and sacrifices.
Sure.
All right. Hey, well, come on in here. I'm just going to hit record on this.
I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
The men and women who serve this country.
We appreciate you. I hope you know that.
I appreciate you.
I've had a lot of people thank me for my service.
But since I've gotten back,
there are people who've served me
by supporting disabled American veterans.
These past few years have been challenging for our disabled veterans who are in need of critical health care and benefits. But thanks to you, DAV has continued to work tirelessly to assist our wounded heroes in getting the vital benefits and support they need now more than ever.
I support those who served for me.
There's never been a greater time to show your support for our nation's greatest heroes. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpdav.org right now.
You love this country, and that just means a lot to me.
Thank you for myself. Thank you for everybody.
When you support DAV, you're serving veterans like me.
Like me.
For that, I say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. When you call or go online to helpdav.org right now and give just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this DAV blanket as a thank you and a reminder of the support you are giving to our nation's greatest heroes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting and believing in me.
Please join me in making sure this vital support never stops by calling now or donating at helpdav.org. Thank you, and God bless you.
These are clearly workers arriving for the start of the graveyard shift.
Poverty is compelling the kids to go into the plants. It's one of the worst jobs in the country.
Where was the Department of Labor for all these years? It's not right for young bodies to be working with such dangerous chemicals.
Where are those children now?
Scripps News investigates child labor in America. Thursday night at 8, 7 Central, only on Scripps News.
There's new information regarding the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. We've learned the train's length is now under investigation as a potentially contributing factor in the crash. An exclusive Scripps News investigation discovered the executives who run Norfolk Southern Railroad earn large cash rewards for making decisions that some safety advocates don't like. Senior national investigative correspondent Mark Greenblatt has been digging through the company's financials for us. Mark, what have you found so far?
Well, hi, Veronica. What we found is that those executives over at Norfolk Southern ended up earning millions of dollars in cash awards after the company made its trains longer and after they made some other financial moves that may look good on Wall Street, but that have safety advocates concerned.
The train that derailed just outside the small Ohio town of East Palestine stretched nearly 2 miles long. The National Transportation Safety Board preliminary report says trouble began with a suspected wheel bearing that overheated on the 23rd car. When that car came off the rail, it set in motion a disaster that's put a national spotlight on the potential dangers of increasingly long trains.
But while concerns have been building across the industry about the growing length of trains, a Scripps News investigation has discovered that Norfolk Southern's top executives personally pocketed millions of dollars in cash awards and incentives after making the company's trains longer. And after hitting a controversial financial target that critics from within the industry say pressures executives to cut costs, often at the expense of safety.
In its 2019 annual report, Norfolk Southern told shareholders that it had launched a major overhaul in its operations, saying it had begun running fewer, heavier trains. That same year, Securities and Exchange Commission documents Scripps News examined show Norfolk Southern began to make big changes in how top executives could qualify for large cash awards, tying more of those payouts to a number known on Wall Street as the operating ratio.
What is an operating ratio?
It's the ratio of operating costs divided by operating revenues. Railroads are seeking to have that number be the smallest number possible. You want to squeeze the costs and increase the revenues.
So you taught the military how to do trains?
Yes. Yes.
Stephen Dittmeyer is the former Director of Research and Development at the Federal Railroad Administration.
This sharp emphasis on operating ratio and how that's driving behavior on railroads is a severe disappointment to me.
He's among those industry experts who say the drive to lower operating costs can be directly linked to longer, more dangerous trains.
The longer they make it, the per car cost of labor is less. And the longer trains have greater damage done, larger pileups, fires, and so on.
Dittmeyer says while longer trains increase his concerns about safety, they can push the operating ratio down. And with millions of dollars in payouts to executives on the line, SEC filings reveal the importance of that operating ratio had grown at Norfolk Southern to account for 60% of its cash awards by 2020, surpassing every other performance measure combined. And the incentives worked. Each year, the ratio dropped. In 2021, when Norfolk Southern hit a record low operating ratio, it helped then CEO James Squires land nearly $3.5 million in cash, almost 3 times what he'd earned the year before. At least 4 other executives got more than $1 million each, including Norfolk Southern's current chief executive officer, Alan Shaw, who was executive vice president at the time.
All right, so it did bump up. Here we go.
We show Jared Cassidy, the safety director of the nation's largest railroad, how under Norfolk Southern's rules, driving down the operating ratio by just a fraction of a percent could lead to huge cash payouts.
Look at the difference in payout of what the incentive can be just by pushing it a little bit further.
You're showing me numbers that I've not seen, and it really is disgusting. I mean, what that tells me is the railroads are going to keep flirting with danger, keep flirting with disaster, as long as people are getting rich.
Cassidy says the families in East Palestine are paying the price, and he believes more communities are at risk.
You have these executives that are getting rewarded, and so the instructions keep coming down no matter what happens. I want more, I want more, I want more, and that's why you see the railroads saying that the train length is going to continue to grow no matter what.
The National Transportation Safety Board is formally consulting Cassidy's team in its ongoing investigation. Cassidy says investigators are now looking into contributing factors to the East Palestine crash. And he says the train's length is a big one.
If you look at East Palestine, that one car that's bad ultimately is going to derail. And when it stops, it's going to stop like that. And then everything else behind it comes crashing in. It exacerbates the damage. It exacerbates the likelihood that a car is going to be breached and leak hazardous materials into a community.
There's currently no limit on train length. But the Federal Railroad Administration is studying the issue and noted this past December, train lengths increased before infrastructure, technology, equipment, and operating practices could accommodate them. An executive with Norfolk Southern testified on Capitol Hill this past year and defended the value of long trains.
And running longer trains is allowing us to more efficiently move what we can move and safely.
When we asked the company about how these long trains tie into its compensation for executives, a spokesperson wrote, "Our incentive compensation is based on financial performance and not predicated on things like train length, weight, and speed." But that's not what we found the company told the Securities and Exchange Commission when it touted its 2021 record performance for train length and weight to justify why corporate executives earned a cash payout that year.
When we shared that SEC document that we found with Norfolk Southern, a spokesperson offered another explanation, now saying that train length was a factor, but just not the only factor.
Norfolk Southern did not agree to an interview with Scripps News and never responded to our questions about the biggest factor in those cash awards, the company's operating ratio. It did tell us part of its incentives were for improving safety. But we noticed that this past December, when the Government Accountability Office reported on Norfolk Southern's accident rate, it found It had hit a 10-year high in 2021.
This isn't about doing what's safest, and it's extremely concerning when you see the fallout and what's happening.
Legislative records obtained by Scripps News show Norfolk Southern has spent tens of millions of dollars over the years lobbying Congress and federal agencies, numerous times trying to block potentially costly safety reforms, including fighting against whistleblower protections, speed limits for high-hazard flammable trains, and they even opposed a current federal effort to require a minimum number of crew members on a train. This past December, the company told the government that running trains with one-person crews is safe.
You see the payouts, that's what's driving their decisions.
You think that there's a direct correlation between what they're lobbying for and lobbying against and their bonus and incentive structure?
Without a doubt. 100%. What we experienced is not okay. And I don't want to say that we dodged a bullet in East Palestine, but the next one may be in a major urban area. It may be in a downtown Chicago. It may be in a downtown New York City.
Norfolk Southern told us, we are going to learn from this terrible accident and work with regulators and elected officials to improve railroad safety. So far, they say they've set aside more than $6 million for East Palestine families. Now, Norfolk Southern's executives can qualify for other types of awards worth far more than their cash incentives. For instance, in 2021, after the company touted what it called its industry-leading total shareholder return, they gave their then CEO $8.5 million in stock and option awards, and that brought his total salary and compensation for the year, Veronica, to more than $14 million.
It's just eye-opening when you think about this, Mark, and you think about how scary it is that these trains are carrying toxic material and then they want to make them longer on top of it. Mark Greenblatt reporting live for us from Washington. Great work. Thanks, Mark. And you can find more from Mark's investigation and other stories as well following this train derailment online. Check us out right now, Scripps News on Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, a Florida professor says that Governor Ron DeSantis' Stop Woke Act is affecting his students and putting limits on his teaching. We'll explain why he feels that he has been silenced. That's next.
Here's TV shark Robert Herjavec for CarShield.
I love cars, and I also love great deals. That's why I'm such a fan of CarShield. They have an amazing deal that helps protect you from the sky-high cost of big auto repairs.
The check engine light on your vehicle can come on at any time. If your car is out of warranty, an engine replacement can cost over $5,000. A new transmission, over $4,000. Even a new air conditioner can run over $1,500.
If you suddenly have to pay those costs, it could really hurt your bottom line.
CarShield administrators have paid for my claims over $5,000. Now, who does that? CarShield, you're the best. A plan that works.
When your car or truck breaks down, you simply take it to the certified repair shop or dealer of your choice. CarShield administrators take care of the rest.
And CarShield gives you VIP treatment.
Plans through CarShield include 24-hour roadside assistance, courtesy towing, and rental car options when your vehicle is being repaired.
I did my due diligence. CarShield is a deal that is just too good to pass up. In fact, CarShield is America's #1 auto protection company.
CarShield administrators have paid out over $1 billion in claims and have protected millions of vehicles. Call now for a free quote.
It's only a matter of time until your vehicle is going to need a repair. Save big with CarShield.
Call now for an instant free quote. CarShield offers month-to-month plans for every budget. There are no long-term contracts. CarShield has coverage for vehicles with 5,000 to 150,000 miles. CarShield experts are standing by now. The sooner you call, the sooner you can drive with peace of mind.
Coverage through CarShield is a deal that is just too good to pass up. If you want to save a lot of money on future auto repair bills, I recommend you call CarShield now.
Call 1-800-680-9870 or go to carshield.com. That's 1-800-680-9870. Call now.
Mom, we're so glad you're feeling better. You gave us such a scare.
I know, honey. Me too. But I want you to know I'm at peace with my homegoing when my time is up. And did I also tell you that I got coverage for my funeral so you and your brother would not have to worry about expenses?
I didn't know you were saving money for your final expenses.
I haven't. I called Open Care, and with one phone call, I was eligible for $30,000 for my funeral and final expenses.
That's wonderful, Mom, but how did you pass your medical exam with your health condition?
Oh, that's the best part. No medical exam is needed.
That's right, and my rates can never increase, my benefits will not decrease, and my coverage will never be canceled.
Mom, I'm so glad you called.
You can now get up to $30,000 in life insurance coverage to help pay for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam, and you can be enrolled with just one phone call. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. Call the number on your screen now and see how a final expense life insurance plan can help you. We don't want to leave our loved ones with debt. The cost of a funeral can be $8,000 or more. A final expense life insurance plan will pay up to $30,000, which can be used for funeral and other final expenses. Call 800-912-7553 now for your free information. You can now get up to $30,000 in life insurance coverage to help pay for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam, and you can be enrolled with just one phone call. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. Call the number on your screen now and see how a final expense life insurance plan can help you. There's no obligation. Call 800-912-7553. That's 800-912-7553.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' Stop Woke Act has some educators concerned the law will exclude Black history classes in public schools and exclude subjects like slavery and racism. That law sets limits on how race can be taught in Florida's schools. Scripps News national correspondent Stephen Graddick takes a closer look at how the law has been affecting university professors.
So I just kind of went back and forth in my head, spoke with my spouse, obviously about what was going to be my decision. And what ended up being the biggest factor was that at the time, I was the only one between myself and my partner who was working, right? So I was the only one bringing in a salary.
In 2022, the Florida legislature passed House Bill 7, a law barring teaching that any ethnic group is inherently racist or should feel guilt over past racial injustices by others. The law also limited discussion that social status is determined by race or gender. But for Jonathan Cox, an untenured assistant professor of sociology at the University of Central Florida, the state's Stop Woke Act meant dropping two of his popular courses last fall, race and social media and race and ethnicity.
The courses that I was teaching were that I canceled were specifically on race in the United States, right? Race in America.
A federal judge issued a temporary injunction late last year, blocking the law from being implemented in colleges and universities. But professors like Cox fear their teachings are nonetheless a target. That's because Governor DeSantis, who objects a certain race-based diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, as well as critical race theory, says teaching approaches like Cox's were designed to, quote, tear at the fabric of American society.
We are also going to eliminate all DEI and CRT bureaucracies in the state of Florida. No funding, and that will wither on the vine.
CRT is a framework often taught at the college level that examines the ways in which race and racism intersects with our laws and social institutions.
I base these courses on empirical evidence, right, that has been around for decades, right? So it's really well-known and well-established research.
Cox's courses incorporated topics like racial ideology, color blindness, systemic racism, and ways racism plays out in social media and technology.
Well, I see this as a very dangerous time for academic freedom in America.
That's Daniel Golden, an investigative reporter for ProPublica, who has written extensively on American education, says the legislation had a real chilling effect on university campuses.
And so that made me think about this whole issue of untenured professors and the predicament they're in when they're in a red state at a public university and they want to teach about the true history of this country, and they want to talk about systemic racism, but they might pay a price with their jobs.
The First Amendment is about freedom of speech. And in the higher education context, so public universities, which are an entity of the government, they're bound by the First Amendment.
Which limits the government's ability to censor certain viewpoints. Adam Steinbaugh is an attorney at Freedom for Individual Rights and Expression. He represents a faculty member, a student, and a student organization at the University of South Florida in a lawsuit challenging the Stop Woke Act's higher education provisions.
But if you start going after faculty members for offensive ideas, then no idea is safe.
Scripps News reached out to the University of Central Florida about the cancellation of Cox's courses on race. The university had no comment.
And I think it is incumbent upon administrators at universities, when they're being asked to do something unconstitutional, to stand up against that. And Florida's universities are not doing that.
This semester, Cox's course load is much lighter than usual. He's only teaching one class online, education and social achievement. But despite the uncertainty, he tells us he plans to bring back the course he canceled on race this summer and fall. I'm Stephen Graddick, Scripps News.
Pandemic SNAP benefits coming to an end across the country. Food banks say they expect some of their heaviest traffic to come from senior citizens. Up next, how they're planning to help families put food on the table. Also, Nissan recalling more than 800,000 SUVs. What prompted the recall and which models have been impacted? That's next.
You're looking pretty good, Mr. Johnson. But we need to take some x-rays today.
That's all.
Yes, x-rays are expensive, but the front desk said you recently enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan with extra benefits that now cover today's x-rays and cleaning costs.
Wow, okay.
Well, Medicare Parts A and B do not cover your routine dental coverage like cleanings, fillings, or x-rays. Yes, you have a Medicare Part C plan, commonly called Medicare Advantage. Medicare Part C plans cover everything in Part A and Part B, plus extra benefits like dental, vision, and hearing.
Wow. That's great that my plan includes dental coverage that helps pay for these costs.
Yes, Mr. Johnson. A Medicare Part C plan could include dental coverage that pays for routine dental exams and teeth cleanings, dental x-rays, fillings, tooth extractions, root canals, dentures, implants, and crowns.
If you're losing coverage, moving, or new to Medicare, call to speak with a licensed insurance agent. You don't get a plan with these benefits automatically, so it's always good to call to see if there's a plan with extra benefits available in your zip code. If you don't have a Medicare Part C plan, call now because there may be plans available with additional benefits that are simply not covered under Medicare Parts A and B, like routine dental coverage. In fact, 24 million Medicare beneficiaries do not have any dental coverage. Here's the good news. If you're on Medicare, you can call even if you called last year. We will check to see if there's a Part C plan available in your area with additional benefits. Remember, you don't get Medicare Part C benefits automatically, so call now for your free 2023 no-obligation Medicare benefits review. Just call 800-614-5203. 800-614-5203.
Join renowned journalists and filmmakers.
Oh my God.
For news stories every week.
What else do we have to take?
Scripps News Showcase. Sunday nights at 9/8 Central on Scripps News.
Hey there, welcome back to Scripps News Live. It's now 31 minutes after the hour. It's great to see you on this Tuesday afternoon. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. Well, across the country, federal SNAP benefits offered during the COVID-19 pandemic are expiring tomorrow, and that will likely lead to a surge at food banks and food pantries. Clara Encinas from Scripps News San Diego spoke with one senior who says that he is planning to modify what he eats.
When the emergency CalFresh benefits expire, the North County Food Bank's food pantry expects to see more traffic in places like their pantry. They expect to see a lot more senior citizens because they think the end of those benefits is going to impact them the most. Carmine Beltree is loading up the food he needs to feed his family of 5 for the next couple of weeks.
We actually counted on being able to get something like we would call fancy stuff, you know. We just pass by, like, say, some meat or something. We would go by it and go, wow, that's way too much. So we would go like, let's get something cheaper.
He's been using the food pantry for a year and using other benefits like CalFresh to take care of the rest of his groceries.
I know they're going to be cutting that off fairly soon, so it really helps to have extra, canned goods and things, extra food to eat.
The federal government started adding emergency CalFresh funds on top of the standard amount in March 2020. But like many other COVID-era benefits, the extra funds are ending. Beltree's story is like many others in San Diego. Before the pandemic, the San Diego Food Bank says it was feeding 350,000 people per month. Right now, it says it's feeding 400,000 people per month. And come April and May, they think the number will grow.
They're going to experience a time when the meats are more expensive, the milk, the eggs are more expensive.
Resources like the food pantry and many other food distribution sites are available for community members who may need the help.
I would advise them to come use it and not be so, feel like you're giving a handout or anything.
March is the last month people will receive the benefits. I'm Sierra Encinas reporting.
All right, if you own a Nissan Rogue or a Rogue Sport, listen up. Nissan is recalling more than 800,000 of these SUVs. A key problem can cause the ignition to switch off while the vehicles are being driven. The recall covers 2014 to 2020 Rogues, 2017 to 2022 Rogue Sports. Nissan is working on a fix and will send letters to owners in March. And for the time being, drivers should not attach anything else to their key rings. Well, the fate of President Biden's student loan debt forgiveness program is now in the hands of the Supreme Court. Coming up next, a student loan attorney is going to join us to weigh in on how today's oral arguments could impact millions of Americans. That's next.
Time to get up, sweetie.
Most people might not think much about all the little things they do every day. But for me, just being able to do those little things is the best part of my day. Ready, Mom? It hasn't been easy, but sometimes the hardest things in life have the best rewards. And it's all because of my amazing friends at the Shriners Hospitals for Children and people like you who support them every month. When you call the number on your screen and just give $19 a month, you'll be helping other kids like me do the amazing things that make up the best part of our day. Because Shriners Hospital is more than just a hospital. It's when my back is better, where my legs get stronger, where I get to be a kid, where it's the best part of my day.
With your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you.
Please, go online to loveshriners.org right now, on your phone or computer, to send your love to the rescue today. Will you send your love to the rescue today? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for giving. Because at Shriners Hospitals for Children, going to the hospital is like going to see family. It really is the best part of my day. Please, call or go online right now to give. If operators are busy, please wait patiently or go to loveshriners.org right away. Your gift will help kids just like me have the best part of our day.
Municipal bonds don't usually get the media coverage the stock market does. In fact, most people don't find them all that exciting. But if you're looking for the potential for consistent income that's federally tax-free, now is an excellent time to consider municipal bonds from Henyon & Walsh. If you have at least $10,000 to invest, call and talk with one of our bond specialists at 1-800-465-8465. We'll send you our exclusive bond guide, free, with details about how bonds can be an important part of your portfolio. Henyon & Walsh has specialized in fixed income and growth solutions for 30 years and offers high-quality municipal bonds from across the country. They provide the potential for regular income, are federally tax-free, and have historically low risk. Call today to request your free bond guide, 1-800-465-8465. That's 1-800-465-8465.
This is the Momsticle course. You gotta be quick, have your hands free, and always remember piano lessons. We're late. Oliver! So you need shoes smart enough to keep up. Kizik's are the truly hands-free shoe that can handle anything mothering throws at you. Where did you get that chainsaw? Amazon? It's time to upgrade to the original hands-free smart shoe. Free shipping, free returns, free the whales, free Britney. You get the point. Get your own Kizik's today.
Hey, folks, the league is in absolute chaos. Come down to some rookie taking free throw. Got the young guys going on.
The Athletic. Subscribe today.
Welcome to the Aura Sleep Lab. Getting enough high-quality sleep increases immunity. And with your Aura Ring, you can learn how to sleep deep and keep your immunity up. It's like having a sleep lab on your finger.
The Supreme Court is hearing 2 cases that will determine if millions of borrowers will see their student loan debt reduced or canceled completely. In August, President Biden announced his student debt forgiveness plan, which could clear up to $20,000 for millions of borrowers. In November, lower courts blocked the forgiveness plan, which is why the Supreme Court is now taking up the case. And it's going to be up to 9 justices to decide if millions of Americans can see some or all of their student debt wiped away. Adam Minsky is a student loan attorney. He joins me now live. Adam, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Adam, hypothetically speaking, let's say that you are standing before the high court ready for this case today. How are you starting your argument in favor of the student loan forgiveness program? What would you say?
So the HEROES Act of 2003, which is the statute that the Biden administration relied on to enact this broad student loan cancellation initiative, expressly authorizes the Department of Education to broadly waive or modify existing federal student loan programs in response to a national emergency, so that borrowers are not left in a worse financial position than they were prior to that emergency happening. And so the administration's position is that this broad debt forgiveness plan is broadly authorized by the HEROES Act, and it's legal under that statute.
All right, so the argument in favor is that it is legal under the HEROES Act, but let's talk about those that are opposed to the program. What are the biggest arguments against it? Why is it unconstitutional or illegal? Is it an overreach on the president's part?
That is what opponents of debt cancellation are arguing. They're saying that Congress, when they passed the HEROES Act in 2003, never envisioned that it would be used for such wide-scale cancellation of $500 billion in student loan debt. That is an abuse of the separation of powers principles set up by the Constitution, and that only Congress can authorize this type of very broad action.
Which is really interesting, because that is something that we heard some of the justices argue today during oral arguments. What do you make of what Justice Roberts had to say about that? And what have some of your biggest takeaways been from the arguments made this morning?
Well, I think the arguments focused on 2 main areas. One is the underlying legality of the program under the HEROES Act and this concept of separation of powers, which the Chief Justice did spend some time on. The other aspect of this, though, is the concept of standing, whether the parties bringing the suit in the first place can demonstrate a concrete enough injury to allow them to have filed these challenges to begin with. And I think that, standing is going to be just as important as the underlying merits of the challenges.
Bring us up to speed, though, on what Justice Roberts had to say in particular about the cost of this program, because I think that's what was at issue and why he was questioning whether or not Congress should be taking up the issue. Should they be taking up the issue? And what did he have to say about the cost of the program specifically?
So what the Chief Justice was getting at is that when you have, his argument is that when you have these types of initiatives that can have such a massive impact on the economy, and when the underlying program is sort of the subject of a wide-scale political debate, you can't really rely on any sort of ambiguous congressional authority to enact that program. It has to be specifically, expressly authorized by Congress, and Congress didn't do that here, he argues, and the challengers are making the same argument.
All right, so if SCOTUS rules in President Biden's favor, which I know a lot of these borrowers are hoping to see, how quickly could people start seeing the money taken off their student debt? What could people expect here?
So it's very possible that if the Supreme Court rules in favor of the administration, folks could start receiving student loan forgiveness relatively quickly within a matter of weeks. Now, we're not expecting a decision on this until May or June, but the Education Department says that around 26 million borrowers have already applied. Many of those have already been approved, at least preliminarily. So if SCOTUS rules in favor of the administration, we could start seeing relief fairly quickly.
Now, on the flip side of things, Adam, what are some other options if the court rules against the Biden administration? Is there anything else at this point that borrowers can do? Because I know that you work specifically in this field. Are there any other programs that they could turn to?
There are several programs. So the Biden administration has done a number of separate initiatives to provide relief to borrowers. There's an IDR account adjustment right now that can allow borrowers to accelerate their timeline towards loan forgiveness, and folks with older loans might even be eligible for loan forgiveness relatively quickly. There are new rules going into effect in July that will relax requirements around other student loan forgiveness programs, including public service loan forgiveness, disability discharges, borrower defense to repayment for folks who were defrauded by their schools. The administration is also in the process of rolling out a new income-driven repayment plan that may dramatically reduce monthly payments for many borrowers and accelerate their timelines for student loan forgiveness as well.
All right, so the good news is it sounds like there are other options available to borrowers, but I have to let you go. I just wanted to get your take on this quickly. Do you think SCOTUS will rule in favor or against this program?
I think it is going to be close. I was listening to the oral arguments. Definitely, I'm getting the sense that there are 4 justices who are deeply skeptical. There might be 5. It's unclear. I think Justice Barrett is on the fence, and I think we're going to have to see how this goes.
All right, we're all watching very closely. Adam Minsky, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up next on Scripps News Live, Madam C.J. Walker is a household name in the beauty industry. Now her lasting legacy is packaged in a new Barbie doll. We're going to explain how this move is pushing other companies to diversify their toys as well. We'll be right back.
No matter what school looks like, no matter where kids are learning, there is still one thing we can be sure of. Too many kids in America are hungry.
We were all just a happy little family. And then when COVID started, it started getting harder and harder. When I first heard of COVID-19, I was kind of scared.
A lot of fear was, how are we going to pay the rent? What are we going to do about electricity? What are we going to do about food and everything?
And then they shut down the school.
The only time they eat is at school. So when you take that food source away with a family that's already facing food insecurity, it has astronomical effects.
Kids in your community and across America need you now more than ever. But no matter where they are, No Kid Hungry will be there to help.
With a gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, you'll help provide healthy meals and hope to kids in schools and communities across America.
This is where those children are getting the bulk of their food, calories, and nutrition for the day, the week, the year.
Please join us today to help end child hunger in America. Call or go online right now with your gift of only $19 a month. Use your credit card, and you'll receive this No Kid Hungry t-shirt to show you're a part of the team that's helping feed kids and change lives.
What we will do is make sure that no one goes hungry on our watch.
Thank you.
Now, when more families than ever are struggling to feed their kids, you can help provide access to healthy meals and hope for their future. So please call this number right now to join me in helping hungry kids, or go online to helpnokidhungry.org and help feed hungry kids today.
Are you on Medicaid and Medicare?
The U.S. government recently announced that 12.2 million citizens are eligible for additional benefits beyond what they received from the original Medicare or Medicaid.
These benefits may include $2,500 of dental credit, $900 of pharmacy credit. Plus, you could be adding up to $164 back into your Social Security check every month. Certain beneficiaries qualify for specific benefits based on income verification. Call Go Medicare at 800-721-2735. If you have recently turned 65, you may be able to enroll in a new plan today that may include benefits like $2,500 of dental credit, $900 of pharmacy credit.
This call is 100% free with no obligation to enroll. So call today.
At 800-721-2735. That's 800-721-2735.
This is a show with range.
In the know.
Today, we're going to talk about crypto.
In the now.
Wild world of online real estate.
In the next.
Weaponized robots are truly becoming a thing in our military.
In the loop. Tonight at 9/8 Central, only on Scripps News.
Madam C.J. Walker was the first female self-made millionaire in America. The former daughter of slaves created a line of hair products specialized for black women and encouraged her peers to engage in business for themselves. Well, now a new Barbie doll is honoring her life. Scripps correspondent Amber Strong sat down with Walker's great-great-granddaughter to explore Walker's legacy and other toy makers' efforts to add diversity to toys, especially when it comes to hair.
It's the early 1900s, the city, Indianapolis, Indiana.
This entire area was full of black people, black business leaders.
Here, Madam C.J. Walker is a household name, a quintessential example of black excellence, the first female self-made millionaire.
The legacy that she's left for all of us, it is a blueprint for so many of us.
Discovering early on the importance of something that may seem minute. Here at Walker's former manufacturing plant turned theater, the evidence of her success is everywhere. Walker knew that for black women in history, hair was about more than the latest style.
A lot of the hair care products were created, including for Madam herself, more as a treatment because they didn't have access to clean water.
So this is Madam Walker's original product. Madam Walker's wonderful hair grower.
Journalist Alilia Bundles says hair has been used as a tool for success. She would know as both a biographer and Walker's great-great-granddaughter.
She knew what these women needed because she had been one of those women. She'd been struggling as a washerwoman. She knew that they wanted to feel good about themselves as black women.
Walker used that empire to employ thousands of black people, support the early efforts of the NAACP, and encourage healthy hair in black women, whether straight or curly.
She began to develop this army of sales agents so that they could make money to buy homes, educate their children, and be leaders in their community.
Walker's story is part of the black hair history, which has evolved over time.
Hair was a big deal in Africa. Hair really did sort of signal who you were, what your status was, where you were in life.
Historian Ayanna Bird says that pride wouldn't survive enslavement.
We hear about house slaves and field slaves, and often the enslaved people who worked in houses had lighter skin and straighter hair. Usually that was because they were a byproduct of rape, but it was also, there became this hierarchy of hair.
However, the power system was challenged over the years.
College students who were in the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement intentionally made hair a political statement and stopped straightening their hair.
Recently, that pride has reemerged in a peculiar place: toys. Big companies and entrepreneurs filling the market with dolls that embody black features, including hair. From the Madam Walker doll from Mattel.
I really wanted the hair to have some texture because I wanted little girls to be able to touch that hair and feel themselves.
To the Healthy Roots doll from entrepreneur Yalitza Jean Charles.
Hearing kids say, like, oh my God, she looks like me when they're opening the box, best experience ever.
To Karma's World, a doll from rapper and actor Chris Ludacris Bridges, based on the hit Netflix show of the same title.
And it took us years to get these facial features and this fashion with their clothes and all that, like the hair, everything together.
Bridges and head writer Halcyon Person told Scripps News the dolls are a natural extension to the show, which tackles real-life issues in a way kids can handle. Take, for instance, the Season 1 episode, Here Comes Trouble.
It's not really a hat, it's to take care of my curls. A girl's gotta protect her hair.
Does every black girl wear one of those?
Is that hair harder to comb?
What about brushing?
Being able to have teachable moments and teach people, about each other and our similarities and differences is extremely important. Not to chastise someone because you think that they're purposely doing something wrong, but to enlighten them is the best way to say it.
How do you stand up for yourself, stand up for your culture while also being an individual and calling out that you are your own person and that your culture is not a monolith is all things that we talked a lot about in writing this episode.
Bridges and Person say many of the themes in the show are based on real-life experiences.
I once had an executive reach out and touch my hair during a pitch meeting, which really threw me off. It was very hard to continue to pitch with that going on. Those kind of things, I think, still happen.
The dolls have come a long way since the 20th century, where there were few black dolls and even fewer with accurate features. In the 1970s, Baby Nancy emerged, the first with realistic designs. She was the result of the Black Power movement. Bird says today's doll explosion is the result of a sort of awakening, too.
We have created a culture around it. This culture has its own language, it has its own tools, it has its own rituals, and it also has more and more celebrations around it.
And even though they're toys, Bird says it's a great way to start a conversation with kids about embracing culture.
Just notice black hair that is beautiful. Mentioning that to our child and our sons as well. Letting our children know that all of these textures are beautiful and none is higher than the other and none is more important.
I do not want another generation of children to not be able to see themselves, to not be able to know the contributions of our ancestors, so that they feel good about themselves, but so that their friends, who may be of another ethnicity, understand their value.
And while it's naive to believe that a doll is proof that centuries of discrimination have disappeared, people we spoke to say the mere existence is a good start.
The number one thing that I've heard from parents is I wish I had this when I was a kid, but I'm glad that I have it now.
A trail paved centuries ago that continues today.
You can choose to be natural. You can choose to have a relaxer, choose to wear braids. You can, you have just so many options of what you want to, who you want to be and how you want to look. And it definitely started, from there.
All a part of the tangled path we call history.
That was Amber Strong reporting for us there. Still to come on Scripps News Live, gaining some social media popularity, led one Arizona man to his dream job. We're going to have his story of overcoming obstacles next.
Darlings, we're all experts at a few things in life. After all these years, I've become an expert at acting, producing, writing, and yes, great hair. But one thing I'm not an expert at, car repairs. That's why before your car breaks down, you need to call CarShield. When you call CarShield, their administrators can hook you up with plans that can cover the cost of major repairs on your car, including the transmission, engine, air conditioning, entertainment systems, and up to 6,000 other parts. So I don't need to be an expert to tell you that it never fails. When your car's out of warranty, it's going to break down at some point. And if you call CarShield before it does, you don't have to worry about paying those expensive bills. How about that? You also get an expert to fix your car because you get to choose the dealership or mechanic, and CarShield administrators take care of paying for them. That's a whole lot of expertise on your side, all for making one call to CarShield. But darlings, you got to make that call before your car breaks down.
I've been a CarShield customer for close to 7 years, had 3 vehicles covered, and they saved me close to $9,000.
When you call CarShield, you get their price lock guarantee, which means that the price you pay today will never change for as long as you cover your vehicle. What you'll also love is that plans through CarShield give you 24/7 coast-to-coast roadside assistance at no additional cost. Because, darlings, CarShield is an expert at customer care, too.
CarShield saved me $2,200.
In 1 year, I saved $2,500.
That's amazing.
If it wasn't for Car Shield, I wouldn't have my car.
Car Shield has made me an expert at saving money on expensive car repairs. Trust me, you need to pick up that phone right now and call Car Shield before your car breaks down.
Get protection now against expensive auto repair bills. Call Car Shield for a free protection plan quote. Call 800-447-0115.
A Mesa, Arizona street vendor known for selling mops and brooms is seeing his luck turn around. And he can thank a small interaction that picked up steam on social media for it. Jordan Bonke with Scripps News Phoenix has more on this man's new dream job.
I got 1 for $6 or 2 for $10.
For the better part of a decade, Sebastian Yabenez has been able to support his wife and 3 kids by selling brooms and mops on valley streets. Triple-digit heat or freezing temperatures, standing on a street corner as a blind man, he still finds a way to sell with a smile.
I start sleeping, the floor looks dark. I'm done sleeping, it's still dark.
In this recent video that's now trending, Sebastian shares there's been no shortage of adversity in his life. When we caught up with him, he didn't sugarcoat his past.
My mom's got burned. I've been hit by a car. My wife has cancer.
That video shared around the world helped raise over thousands of dollars for Sebastian. But you can't put a value on what Tim Brown gave him.
He says his dream job is to sell cars. Would you hire him? I said, absolutely. Why wouldn't I hire him?
No question.
Oh, no question.
Tim is a partner with Brown Brother Automotive in Mesa. He saw the video where Sebastian says it's his dream job to become a car salesman. Right then and there, Tim knew he had to have him on his Main Street lot.
That's a beautiful man right there, Sebastian.
While talking to Tim, Sebastian kissing his wife goodbye as he starts the first day of his new dream job.
I can finally reaching that apex, that top of the mountain that I've been climbing against all odds.
Learning the inventory for Sebastian will have its challenges, but Tim says he has the best trait a salesman can have, just being a good person with the right attitude.
I could lose an arm, I could lose a leg, and still sell a car.
And having a sense of humor doesn't hurt either.
People are always going to need cars. Yeah. That and tamales.
Hearing what has happened to Sebastian, there may not be much to smile about, but seeing how he's reacted to it all could make him the most qualified candidate in the Valley.
What was your reaction in that moment? What was running through your mind?
How much am I going to get paid?
My man. All the right questions.
I'm Jordan Bonke reporting.
What a great story. Thank you so much for watching Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. Questions, comments, you can always send me a tweet at Veronica.